Perry Sees About Awareness and Intuition, written and illustrated by Susie Chase Motzkin. The illustrations are left without color so readers can express themselves creatively and become more invested in the story. Text copyright 2010 by Susie Chase Motzkin. Illustrations copyright 2010 by Susie Chase Motzkin. All rights reserved. Number 3 in the Our Life Skills series. Dedication to my daughter, Chelsea, who helped me to understand the world of energy, vibration, and intuition. Author's note. Have you noticed the babies that smile as they gaze past our eyes to the perimeter of our physical being? Or do you notice the children who are normally outgoing but shy away from certain people? I could never see auras as my daughter can. I always felt energy or vibration and was often affected by it, but I never had Chelsea's ability to be able to see the varying colors around people's bodies. I was quite intrigued and would ask her about what she saw around people throughout her childhood. Her vision to reality ratio was spot on, which made it easier for me to let her go away from home. I had a strong sense her intuition would keep her safe. My husband Dave and I took our daughter to dinner when she was visiting home from college. Practical Dave, an engineer, surprised me when he leaned into Chelsea and confided, "This is great aura lighting, isn't it?" That summer, Chelsea and I attended a cell-level healing class taught by biophysicist Dr. Joyce Hawkes. She had a near-death experience that propelled her to study indigenous healing practices and was sharing her knowledge by giving classes. In attendance was an interesting group of people. There were nurses, massage therapists, psychologists, people who were ill and needing healing, and some curious like us. We connected easily with a nurse named Jane who was sitting next to us. During one of the breaks, we started discussing the example healing Dr. Hawkes presented on one of the members of the class. Chelsea shared she had seen a deep, muddy brick color being drawn out of the chest of the man who had been suffering from a lung infection for over a year. Jane said she had witnessed something similar. I asked Chelsea if she could see what colors were around Jane, but Chelsea quickly changed the subject. When we were driving home, I asked her about why she switched topics. Chelsea explained she had not wanted to tell Jane she had seen a green bubble off the back of her neck. Surprising to Chelsea and me was that the following day's healing demonstration was on our friend Jane. Dr. Hawkes shared that Jane had a fatty tumor on the back of her neck removed, but the doctor must have missed some cells and it had returned. As Chelsea watched Dr. Hawkes move her hands over Jane, she saw the green bubble diminish. As usual, I was dumbfounded by Chelsea's ability to see. I discovered something else when I was on a radio call-in show to discuss my stories. I had expected people would call in and ask about self-healing. Instead, the majority of calls were about auras. Many people could see them, but never wanted others to know about it for fear of ridicule. I had heard the same story while on a chairlift with a student. She confided with me she had been able to see color around people since childhood. She tried to block it and also tried to avoid telling her husband for fear he would think she was wacky. Every cell in our body carries an electromagnetic charge, and the water in those cells feed that charge like a battery. We radiate with that energy. Color varies depending upon the vibration of light. Emotions and physical imbalances tend to alter the vibration, thereby emitting certain colors. Whether we can see auras or not, we often get a sense or inner knowing about the intentions of the people with whom we interact. If we encourage our children at a young age to remain sensitive to what they feel about people and situations. Their intuition would be better developed as they moved through life. Another biophysicist, Fritz Albert Popp, discovered all living cells emit photons, which are particles of electromagnetic radiation, commonly referred to as light. Popp was quoted to say, "Man is essentially a being of light." His research utilized ultrasensitive cameras which, under strict methodology, captured this light. The light changed color and density when subjects were under stress. Depictions of religious leaders and icons in many faiths have shown a glow around the heads and bodies of these, quote, enlightened beings. Research continues in the scientific community to isolate and understand this energy. Perry sees. Mommy and Daddy were overjoyed as they gazed into the eyes of their new son, Perry. Mommy remarked lovingly, "I could swear I am looking in the eyes of an all-knowing wise man. You've been here before, haven't you?" The love in Mommy's heart swelled as she gently kissed the boy between the eyes. Daddy never knew that he could feel love so intensely. Perry made little happy sounds as he settled into his mother's arms. Daddy slid next to the two and wrapped them in his arms. There they all fell asleep until the nurse entered the birthing room. The family returned to their home and settled in for a few days. Everything was going wonderfully with Perry's introduction to his new world. Perry appeared to be a very happy baby. Mommy and Daddy were glad that Chumley, their dog, was gentle and loving with the new baby at all times. The two became friends very quickly. Sometimes the dog would try to lick the milk from Perry's face. Perry seemed to like it. When Perry would start making sounds, Chumley would sniff around him and then make a hushed bark. Mommy always knew this was the signal for her to check on Perry's diaper. As the weather grew warmer, Mommy often packed Perry up in the stroller for a walk through the neighborhood. Chumley would trot alongside them. The neighbors often gathered around them, cooing at little Perry. Mostly Perry would smile and make happy noises, but every time the old lady on the corner would greet them, Perry would fuss and Chumley would softly growl. Mommy did not understand their reactions. The lady on the corner was the first to greet them with cookies when they moved into the neighborhood. They would rarely see her, but if she were in the yard, she would nod to them when they passed. Mommy bent to ask Perry and Chumley why they were fussing. Of course, Perry was too young to answer. Chumley, however, would respond with a quiet growl. Mommy told Daddy how Perry and Chumley reacted to the lady on the corner. Daddy rubbed his chin and remarked, "Kids and animals seem to have a special sense about certain things." Daddy followed with a story. The lady on the corner was violently shaking her finger and yelling at a boy in the grocery store. It was so forceful, I was going to say something to her, but at the moment I just froze. For some reason, I was frightened to involve myself. I had forgotten about that until now. Daddy shivered as he told Mommy the story. It was almost like Daddy was also afraid of being yelled at violently. When Perry was 4 years old, his parents noticed that whenever they would introduce someone new to their son, Perry would scrunch up his eyes and stare at the person. Sometimes Perry would smile and dutifully hold up 4 fingers as he told them how old he was. Sometimes, however, Perry would bury his face or hide behind his parents' leg. His parents tried to teach him good manners. Looking people in the eye while shaking their hand in greeting was something Daddy always thought was important. It shows people you are sincere and interested in them personally, he would say. At the age of 7, when at his father's company barbecue, Perry stubbornly refused to greet Daddy's boss. In a hushed voice, Mommy asked Perry what was wrong. She scolded, "Perry, you're in grade school and way too old to be doing this." Perry apologized and explained he saw a dark red light with gray edges around Daddy's boss. "It makes me uncomfortable, Mommy." She reached out her hand to Perry's forehead to see if he had a fever. She asked him if he was feeling all right. He nodded, indicating he felt okay. Mommy told Perry she was going to make an appointment with the eye doctor first thing on Monday morning. Perry changed the subject by pointing out the fish pond. A few weeks later, Perry sat in the optometrist's chair, covering up one eye, then the other. He named off the letters on the chart with ease. Finally, the optometrist asked Perry, "Your mother said you saw a dark red and gray light around someone. Do you see it around me?" As the optometrist stepped back, Perry squinted his eyes and said, "Nope. I see blue and green around you." When asked if he saw colored light around the chairs in the corner, Perry squinted, shook his head, and said, "It's kind of white and does not spread out." The optometrist pointed to the stuffed animal on the shelf, then to the plastic toy next to it. Perry squinted his eyes and shook his head. "No light." Finally, the optometrist asked about Perry's mother, who was now standing beside him. Perry smiled and replied, "There is a sparkly purple around her, and it spreads way out." "Okay, Perry, sit tight. Your mother and I will be right back," said the doctor as he reached for the door. Mommy stood up and followed him out of the room. Once in the hallway, she looked at the eye doctor questioningly. He began, "It seems as though your son can see auras. It's the energy field that vibrates and radiates from people and all living things." "What does that mean? Is he okay?" Mommy asked. "Yes, he is fine. It is something that many children can see. We are, in a way, electrical beings. Emotions and thoughts affect the colors somehow." When Perry described the different colors he saw around you and me, I knew that he did not have any eye problems. "I am certainly not an expert on auras," the optometrist stated. He led Mommy back into the exam room, where Perry was waiting patiently. He told Perry that his eyes were perfect, and he, like others, could see the vibrational energy that shines from people. He called this energy electromagnetic. He assured Perry and his mother that there was nothing they should be worried about. Perry smiled as they left for home. Perry's mother thought about what it meant to see auras. She wondered if the heat waves you can see off of hot pavement were like seeing auras. When they got home, she quickly looked up auras in the book they kept handy in the kitchen. She brought the book to the dinner table to share with Daddy and Perry. Perry started by telling Daddy his eyesight was perfect. "The eye doctor said the color I see around people is from magnets in the body." "Not quite, Perry, sweetie," Mommy chuckled. "He said the vibration of the atoms in the body sends off electromagnetic energy. This book says auras show what people are thinking before they say it." Mommy read that good and happy people have bright auras and people with bad thoughts have dark ones. She also read that colors are a vibration of light. Dark colors have a slow vibration, while bright colors vibrate more quickly. They all agreed that seeing auras would be a helpful skill to have when meeting people or trying to understand someone's behavior. The topic of auras and energy did not come up for a long time. Years passed until one evening, while watching the news on television, Daddy commented about one of the stories. Perry chimed in. I was thinking maybe if people were taught how to read auras, they might be able to sense other people better. There might be less crime. Mommy agreed. Better health, too. Remember when you told me you saw a green bubble around Jane's neck? Later, she told me the doctor had discovered a fatty tumor there. Thank goodness it was easy to remedy. I saw her just last week, and she told me her health was great. Daddy asked Perry, "Do you think you could teach me how to see auras?" Perry thought for a moment, and then half closed his eyes. Usually I stare at someone's forehead and do not really focus my eyes. I just relax them until I see light or color around the person. I only see it for a short time, then my eyes go back to normal. What does an angry emotion look like, Perry? Daddy questioned. When I see a dark reddish color, I think the person is not happy with things. Seeing grayish colors around people makes me feel pretty uncomfortable. Actually, anytime I see dark or muddy color around someone, I pay attention and am careful. Most people have lighter colors. Sometimes I see strings of pink light between you and Mommy. Mommy smiled and touched Daddy's arm. Perry continued, Now that I am older, I feel the energy more than I see it. I can tell right away what is up with someone when I shake his or her hand. Then I'll look at the aura to see if it matches my feelings about the person. Usually I'm right. Wow, Perry, that is some gift, Daddy exclaimed. I don't think so, Daddy. Maybe I am just lucky that you and Mommy encouraged me to trust my feelings. I think that is what has kept me out of trouble. Sometimes, though, it is really hard to say no to my friends. I hate to admit, when I do not listen to my feelings, I always regret it. That is why we have kept a close eye on you while you are growing up and discovering your world. We do trust you will try your best to do the right thing, Mommy supposed. Do your friends know that you can see the auras around them? His father asked. Perry thought for a moment before answering. Before I was worried about people thinking I was strange, but now I know most people are afraid of not being accepted by others, so I don't worry about what others think anymore. When I camped out with the guys, they all asked me what color their auras were. I couldn't tell Bo the truth about his color. Mommy asked, why? Because his family is going through tough times, and I didn't want to embarrass him. I told him I saw white light around the edges, which meant that the source of all creation was with him. It was the truth, and I think he felt good about it. I know I would feel good knowing the source of all creation surrounds me, Daddy said thoughtfully. He rose from the couch and patted his son on the knee, saying with gusto, You are a fine young man, Perry. Their old dog Chumley barked in agreement. The end.